Hey everyone, so this one is for you. If you are a teacher who is either dealing with a student or students in your class that are going through different kinds of trauma due to maybe traumatic issues within the family or trauma inside their community, but it's especially for you if you teach at a school where the majority of the students at that school are experiencing trauma within their environment. This episode is actually inspired because I did a motivational talk at a school and the teachers there were so amazing. And that school is a skills school. And at a skills school, at least in South Africa, it's for students who are really struggling in mainstream school for a variety of reasons, trauma being one of them. And so they go to the skills school. Now, as you can imagine, it is a lot more difficult because you have many students now who are experiencing trauma within their communities, within their families, and they are bringing that, to school because that's what they're experiencing. And then the teachers it's already so emotionally heavy being a teacher because you want to help every single student. And you can't fix their environment. You can't change what they're going through. It is very, very overwhelming. And if you are in a school which is in a lower income area and tends to have more trauma than perhaps other areas where students are able to go to counselors and things like that, then I wanted to do an episode where we learn, or I could give you some strategies and some tips and tricks for just how do you not take it all in? How do you not like completely absorb all of the students' trauma because you love them and you want to help them and you want to save them from what's going on, but you absolutely can't. All you can do is be this safe space in their lives. And that's what sort of prompted this episode. So if you have any strategies that I have not mentioned here, maybe you've dealt with a student who was experiencing a lot of trauma and you found some ways of not taking it on. I know with me, I have used some of these that I'm going to talk to you about today because I don't think you can be a teacher and not have experienced being so crazy worried about the kids because you know what's going on at home and there's nothing you can do. It is so emotionally heavy. Like that's the only way I can really explain it. So our goal today is to develop some strategies. So how can you care and deeply for the students and love the students without carrying their pain home with you? Now, before we start, we need to understand the concept of secondary trauma. So secondary trauma, which is also called vicarious trauma, is the emotional toll that you experience when you are repeatedly exposed to other people's pain, suffering, or traumatic stories. Okay. And I'm not going to lie, like there are actually people out there who kind of go looking for secondary trauma because they need sort of that drama in their lives. But it has been my experience that those people are not teachers. We have enough secondary trauma coming into our lives that we are not going out there just looking for extra. So secondary trauma, basically, it's not your trauma, right? But hearing about it or seeing the effects can really start to weigh on you, like this massive just anchor pushing on your chest. And it's almost as though every student's trauma is a small anchor that's being added on top of that bigger anchor that you've already got carrying around. And it's just pushing harder and harder. So over time, this can lead to exhaustion, sadness, heavy anxiety, and even numbness. And if you get to the point of numbness, then you need to be particularly careful because that's when the secondary trauma is affecting your body as well as your mind. Okay. Now, just a quick story to explain secondary trauma. It's a lot like this. Like if you are a lifeguard at the beach, right? And every day you see people struggling in the water. So you're at one of those lifeguards, you're at one of those beaches where it's really popular, but like the waves are pretty crazy. Okay. And there are definitely roughly 30 people, read students, coming to your beach every single day. Okay. And you have to be on point because the current could just take them away. You know that they're going to be dealing with a lot if they go into the current. Now, your job, of course, is to jump in and rescue them if they wind up getting involved in the current, and you have to bring them to safety. And you do this day after day after day, and you're really, really good at it. Like, you are an expert lifeguard. You have lost no one and you save lives, and that feels incredibly amazing. But over time, you actually start to notice that suddenly, even when you're off duty, you can't stop thinking about the people that you saved, or the people that you maybe couldn't save right away, or the ones who are really struggling, who are struggling the most. And you start to feel the weight. Remember, I mentioned the anchor. You start to feel the weight of their fear and their pain, even though it wasn't your experience. You know how terrified they were when they were out there thinking they were going to drown, and then you saved them. You might even dream about the ocean that night, or the sound of, the waves, and you hear that sound, you start to feel anxious. So you're still doing your job, but it's starting to take its toll, like, emotionally on you. And this is basically secondary trauma. So as a teacher, you are the lifeguard, and you are constantly exposed to your students' struggles in the water, quote unquote, whether it's poverty or violence or family issues or other traumas. You care so deeply and you want to help so badly, but over time, hearing their stories and seeing their pain can start to affect you, even if you're not directly experiencing it yourself. And you have to be so careful, because this is what leads to burnout, and we don't want that to happen. So here we are. Our goal, again, just a reminder: how to care deeply for students without carrying the pain home. Okay. I'm going to give you, I think it's 10 strategies, 10 ideas. I hope at least one of them resonates with you. If there is anything I haven't mentioned, please comment and let us know. And of course, like this and share this so that we can get it out to as many teachers as possible, because I don't think it is possible that you are a teacher and you have not had a student in your class dealing with trauma. Like, I just don't think it's possible. Okay, number one: create an emotional offloading routine. All right. So this is very similar to where it's almost like you're offloading the emotional trauma that you had to deal with that day. So it's as though you see it as like a coat and you take it off, right? So just like you set up your classroom for the day, you need an exit strategy for the emotions. And examples of this could be, so you would have sort of the same thing every day, maybe journaling for 5 minutes, like just writing down. Don't write down, like, you can write down like the bad things that happen, but it's actually better to write down the good things that happened, or to write down sort of, an affirmation or two about how you're going to focus tomorrow. So just really, it's really up to you how you want to journal, but just sort of getting your feelings out on paper and leaving them there. You could even write them down. And I've done this before: write them down, rip out the page and scrunch it up and throw it away, because it's gone now. That's done. That happened. So whatever affected you that day, write it down, scrunch it up, like take it off the paper, scrunch it up and throw it away. You could play the same song on the drive home, so that it's like this really upbeat motivational song reminding you that you are still here, you are still alive, you are living your life. You cannot live the lives for your students. You're not their parent, or any other person who can take them home with you. So you have to sort of focus on you. And last but not least, I'm a huge proponent of deep breathing, but just sitting in your car and saying some deep breaths like, I am safe, I am okay, I did a great job. And I'm going to give you a lot of affirmations at the end of this that you can maybe write down a few that resonate with you, and just really saying, that you're okay and everything is okay. And tomorrow is going to be another day. And now you're going home to your space. Okay. Number 2 is using the circle of control mindset. All right. Now, the circle of control, this comes from, I don't know if he created it. I think he did, but it's found in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And he talks there about the circle of control, the circle of concern, and the circle of innocence, the circle of influence. And basically looking at really recognizing what is yours to carry, because that it's within your control to really look at what you're thinking about and what isn't. So you can't carry the student's emotions with you, right? You need to remove it like a cloak, because it is within your control to stop and say, no, I can't carry that with me. Right now, I'm going to go home and I'm going to live the life I was given to live. And I'm going to make tonight the best I can make it. I can't carry that. Then asking yourself, is this within my power to change? Or do I just wish it were? Right? If you're focusing on things that you can't change, you have to say to yourself, that is beyond my control. I can't change it. I can't control what happens there. All I can do is make that student feel safe at school. That's it. And I wish I could change it, but I can't. So as a result, I'm not going to focus on that. And one thing I always used to do is you have to immediately try and shift your thinking, right? So thinking about, what are you grateful for in your life? What happened that day that went really well? Was there a student that did something great that day, right? Starting to actually tell yourself everything that happened in the day that was amazing, that was a win. If you really can't think of any wins, okay, I'd be surprised. I'm sure there's at least 1 or 2 in there, but if you can't, then you have to just start focusing on what you're grateful for. And it can be as simple as, you are grateful for your shoes. You are grateful for the house you live in. You are grateful for the roads that you get to drive on. You are grateful for, the nature around you, and just deep breathing while you're saying it, so that it just puts you in a calmer space. Number 3 is setting compassionate boundaries. So this is actually saying to yourself, you can be compassionate, but understanding how to not absorb. I also like to almost imagine that the negative energy is like maybe a negative color. So all the traumatic energy that you're taking in is like this negative color. And when you breathe in the positive energy, right? So maybe that's yellow. And then you breathe out the like the gray energy, let's say. Okay. And if you really need even more help with this, before you start breathing, imagine that there is like a shield of energy, like you're in a bubble of white energy. Okay. Like white light, or like really like, bright energy. And it's almost like this shield, but it's covering you. And when you breathe in the yellow or the white, even from the energy, you breathe in that positive energy and you breathe out the gray. The gray goes through the shield, but nothing can come back. The gray can't come back in. It can only leave. It can't actually get back in. And you are surrounded by this energy shield. And you just breathe in and breathe out and so you're not absorbing any of that traumatic energy. You're just pushing it out through the shield. And even as much as the gray tries to come back, it can't come back. So you're only breathing in the white energy or the yellow energy, whatever you color. You can be purple or pink or some kind of positive color. Then also you can say, right, I will do what I can in class and I will take it one step at a time. So you just do what you can. You did your best. Did you do your best? I did my best. That's all you say. I did my best today, and my best is always good. Okay, number 4, practicing mental energy buckets. So this is, again, really visualizing your energy in colors and seeing, the negative traumatic energy that you're taking in, like has it like leaving your body in a more of a gray, and then the white, yellow, pink purple, whatever kind of positive energy is coming in. And you look at the fact that you have a bucket of like good energy, and you're going to breathe into, you're going to kind of take all your gray energy and you're going to like dump it into this other bucket, and then just like dump it out the window, kick it out the door, whatever. Like you can't do anything with it. You don't want it back. You don't want that energy back. You're going to take this new bucket of positive rainbowy energy and you're going to pour that onto yourself, and you're going to breathe and just be like, tomorrow's a new day. I'm going to go home and I'm going to enjoy my evening with my family or whatever I'm going to do. Remember, again, keeping an eye on your thoughts. Your thoughts is key, right? So when you start thinking about it, be like, no, that's the gray energy. That must go. We're bringing in gratitude. What's great in our life? What do we love? Right? That kind of thing. If you have to, make sure you go out, and if you buy something at the shop, just like really smile at everyone you meet, just trying to put out that positive energy as much as possible, because as much as there are horrible people out there that are, and some of whom are causing this trauma with your students, there are also incredibly amazing, awesome people, and you have to look for them too. You have to look for them. Some of them might even be your parents and the people with your other students. You could focus on them, right? It's natural to want to focus on your students that are really going through trauma, but it doesn't always have to be like that. Number 5 is a grounding technique for overwhelming moments. So having a technique when things get very overwhelming that just keeps you present, right? Keeping you in the now. If you've ever read Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, it's understanding that we only have this present moment. We only have the now. So grounding yourself to like the earth's energy and being present in the now. And one of the ways you can do this is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. That is not the 5-second rule from Mel Robbins. That is the focusing on 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can maybe smell, and 1 thing you can taste, or something like that. So it's shifting again your mind to the now. There's also the rainbow walk that I really like, which is looking around or going for a walk outside if you can. If you can't, just looking around and identifying something that's red, something that's yellow, something that's something that's orange, something that's yellow, something that's blue, like everything that's the color of the rainbow. So it just grounds you in the present. The other thing you can do to ground, a quick grounding technique, is the box breathing. That's where you inhale for 4 right through your nose. And then you hold for 4. And then you exhale for 4 through your mouth or through your nose. And then you hold for 4 again, and you repeat. So it's like a box, like the corners of the box. And these are just ideas that you can use that will reset that moment so the stress doesn't accumulate, right? So you're like, I'm okay, I'm safe. And you just sort of take that gray energy and just watch it just wash away. Just breathe it out. If you're doing the box breathing, just breathe it out. Number 6 is having an anchor phrase. I'm going to give you a few anchor phrases. You can also go into ChatGPT. I asked ChatGPT for a few extra anchor phrases, and the transition ritual, which I really like. So let's just start off with the anchor phrases first. So an anchor phrase is just a simple reminder for when emotions get heavy that you can say. Basically, some examples here. Okay, so I am doing what I can with what I have. I am doing what I can with what I have, because sometimes if you're in a particularly lower income school, you may not have that much to work with. And this is not mine to carry alone. And we will talk about that after, but just understanding that the worst thing you can do is hold things in and not talk about it with someone. I actually asked a counselor, I did a motivational talk at a conference, and I asked her, like, what advice would you give me for teachers who are burning out? Because I'm going to do a workshop on burnout soon. And she said, teachers, if they can, they need their own counselor. Like they they need a counselor because there are a lot of things that they're actually not allowed to talk about to other people when it comes to the traumas of the kids. And they have to have someone that they can talk to about it. It's so, so, so important. I did my best today, and that is enough. I did my best today, and that is enough. This reminds you that you are human and you do not need to be perfect. Number 2, I am not responsible for fixing everything, but I am responsible for showing up with care. You are modeling the behavior for the students, right? So students are always watching. So whatever behavior you're using, whatever conflict resolution you're using, the way that you might speak to certain students, you have to do your absolute best to always speak with care and kindness, because that's what they're learning from. They're learning from you. So I am not responsible for fixing everything, but I am responsible for showing up with care. And yeah, this shows that you're there to support, but you can't solve everything. Number 3, I can care deeply without carrying the weight of their pain. I can care deeply without carrying the weight of their pain. This is to help separate your empathy from over identifying. So taking in, right, the gray energy. Number 4, today, I created a safe space for my students, and that matters. This is actually my favorite. Today, I created a safe space for my students, and that matters. Because as we move into the future, you know, the whole concept of that we have to be super incredibly academic is so archaic. The fact is that the 21st century skills that are needed are empathy, emotional intelligence, and safety, right? Students need to feel safe. They can learn the academics, and like, especially with the creation of AI, right? There's so many ways to become academic, but there are not a lot of ways to learn the empathy, learn the emotional intelligence, because a lot of people don't have it. So by modeling it, you can help create that. So today I created a safe space for my students, and that matters. And like, that really matters. Number 5, I am allowed to let go of what I cannot control. If I can't control it, this is again your circle of control. I can't control it. If you can't control it, you have to try to let it go. I am allowed to let go of what I cannot control, right? That is beyond my control. Why am I putting my energy into it? Why am I putting my energy into stressing about it, worrying about it, being upset about it? Because I can't control the outcome. I can't control what happens when that student goes home. And this is to help you release the burden of circumstances, right? Beyond what you can actually control. Number 6, I am a guide, not a savior. I am a guide, not a savior. You can't save them. You can't save the kids because you don't have that. It's not within your control. It's not within your power to do that. You are a supportive figure. You can't rescue. Number 7, I honor my students' struggles, but I do not have to take them on as my own. I honor my students' struggles, but I do not have to take them on as my own. So this acknowledges that you love your students, you understand they're in pain, but you have to set emotional boundaries for yourself. You can't take in the gray energy. Number 8, I am allowed to rest and recharge. It makes me a better teacher. And you know this is true. If you don't take care of yourself, you are replaceable. They will replace you tomorrow. And maybe not tomorrow, maybe, even if there's a shortage in your area. But the fact is that if you are burning out, or you cannot show up for yourself, and you definitely cannot show up for your kids. So I'm allowed to rest and recharge. I am allowed to rest and recharge if it makes me a better teacher. And this is like seeing self-care as essential, not selfish, which I'll mention again, I think. Number 9, I am proud of the small wins today, even if they were invisible to others. So looking at your really small wins, I mean, it could be your coffee that morning. Maybe it was particularly delicious. Or maybe if you were like me, like every Friday, you would splurge and get a coffee in South Africa, I would always go to Mug and Bean. But you could go anywhere. So yeah, just like looking at the small wins that happened. Maybe a student used a full stop for the first time. I mean, that is a monumental win. Definitely. Only a teacher will get that, but it is. So that shifts to progress, right? No matter how minor it seems, I am proud of the small wins today, even if they were invisible to others. And last one is tomorrow is a new day and I will start fresh. Tomorrow is a new day and I will start fresh. I'm not going to carry what happened yesterday into tomorrow, what happened today into tomorrow. You have to try and renew your energy. And there's a few ways that you can use these. And again, like I said, feel free, like go and ask ChatGPT for more and you'll get more. And either at the end of the day, you could write them down, you could sit quietly and breathe through them. You could journal them. You could that's like writing it down. The ones that particularly resonate with you, that feel meaningful. You could create them as a visual reminder. If you're really creative, you could design them and put them up, or you could put them on your desk or put them on your phone or something like that. And yeah, so they're designed to help you process the day, set your boundaries, and cultivate that mindset of self-compassion and resilience. So definitely that's your anchor phrases. And then your transition ritual is similar to what I had mentioned before. It's just to develop that routine to leave work. So maybe taking a short walk or listening to a specific song at the end of the day, just to signal to your brain that we're done and work is being left at work. Changing clothes immediately when you get home to show that like you're done with work. If you have to bring work home, like you have to, you obviously want to try never to bring work home. But as teachers, sometimes that is impossible. Ideally, you want to try and just get it done when you get home. So stay in your work clothes to show that it's still work time, get it done, and then change. As soon as we're setting boundaries, then we change out into our comfy clothes, and now it's time to put our phone on silent and just enjoy the company of our family. Okay, the seventh strategy that I've got for you is to recognize the signs of the secondary trauma so that you can start looking for support. You must get support if you start to recognize the signs of secondary trauma, which are fatigue. And fatigue is where you've had a lot of sleep and you're still incredibly tired. You just can't seem to get out of it. You're just constantly tired. And your diet is good as well, because sometimes there are, really fatty foods and oily foods can lead to like the fatigue, and the sugar as well can lead to sugar slumps. But I'm talking about where you've got a relatively decent diet and you're still struggling to get out of that fatigue. You're highly irritable. So the littlest things the kids do, the littlest things your partner does, the littlest things your own kids do, the littlest thing, whatever it is, like you get irritated. You just fly off the handle when it's not really even that big of a deal. You are having trouble sleeping. So you're not sleeping or you're sleeping too much. That's linking into the fatigue. Also eating, you're either eating, suddenly you're overeating or you're not eating. Okay. That can also be symptoms. Feelings of hopelessness that's a sign that you're just absorbing too much of the gray energy, too much trauma, because you are seeing the world as hopeless. You're not seeing the good people in the world. You're not seeing the people that are helping, the kids that are like being raised in great families, and great situations, your own family, right? You're starting to feel really hopeless. You have to talk to someone. Those are the points where you must seek help because you cannot do it alone. Okay, number 8, next, using the small wins as emotional fuel. So instead of focusing, of course, on what you can't fix, going back to our circle of control, focusing on what you can fix. And that is, what can you control? Well, your thoughts. I know this one because this is always in my motivational talk. What can you control? Your thoughts, your attitude, your reactions, right? You can choose to fly off the handle and get angry. You can choose to breathe for a second and pause and stay calm. I'm actually writing an ebook at the moment about how to deal with difficult coworkers and difficult parents. And in that, there's a whole section about staying calm. That's your superpower. And okay, so focusing on what you can, your thoughts, your reactions, your attitude. Those are the main things that you can control, and your actions as well. So what you give your energy to, you can control that, right? You can control whether you want to take in the positive rainbow energy or the gray energy. You've got to push that gray energy out, breathe it out. Visualize that you're breathing in the rainbow energy. And by the way, like if you are not teaching your students breathing techniques, please get on that as soon as possible. Best thing that you can do. Keep a victory log. This could be a sticky note, a journal, or just even a mental note of moments where you helped someone. So what were the victories, right? How did you actually contribute to society that day where you did something great for someone? You really helped someone. Note that down, write that down, or really just think about it and live in that space for a moment. And lastly, using the reflective journal. Well, lastly for this one, using a reflective journal just to write down the 2 wins of the day, 2 positive interactions that happened with students, and then focusing on telling your partner about that when you go home. So when you go home, rather than moaning and complaining about everything that might have gone wrong or talking about the trauma that the students are going through, because that's just like reinforcing that it's just like devastating that they're going through it, but you can't do anything about it. Ask your partner, like, what was the highlight of your day? What was the highlight of your day today? What was the best thing that happened today? Right? Focusing on why you're grateful for what you do have rather than all the stuff that you can't control that you wish you could. Number 9, this is one I got from a friend of mine as well. It's almost like you're changing states, right? Like you have 2 identities in a way. You have teacher and you have Marisa. So you create a mental door between work and home. And I mean, if you're teaching, that can definitely be like the door to the school, let's say, right? So it's almost similar to that transition ritual where you've got your happy playlist, you have a boundary saying like no school emails, like you don't have your school emails coming through on your phone. You are changing your clothes right away. But the mental door is basically like you wearing 2 hats. So when you go through the door, the school door, you are a teacher. That is your identity. And when you leave, it's like you're going to take off the teacher hat and you're going to put on the Marisa hat, right? The hat that's you, the other person that's different from the identity of teacher. And you can almost imagine what those hats look like, right? It's like if the mental door is you could use that physical door to your school. It's almost as though you could physically, like not physically, but you could imagine like taking off your hat. You can even do the action and like hanging it up outside the school door and putting on your teacher hat, and then going through the door. So that's just an idea of something that you could do to sort of separate your 2 identities, as though you are closing the one, like you're starting in this, and you could even create, okay, what is the teacher identity like and what is the Marisa identity like, right? It's different. Number 10, building a support system with other teachers. And this is what I loved about that school that I mentioned, that was like the skills school, is they were very supportive as a team. And I really cannot understand, even though I get it, because in my early days of teaching, I was like this, but it really is so much more difficult being a teacher when you have a team that's like out to get you, that doesn't want to work with you, that doesn't like, that pushes against you, that wants to see you fail, that's toxic, that, can't just support you, can't, create a sort of that support system that we all need as teachers. Like we have to have each other's backs, because you are not meant to carry this alone. You have to find the people at your school that, even if it's one person, that you can sort of just vent, right? It could be a venting buddy, right? Accountability partner, whoever it was. I always had one person, and I knew that no matter what I said there in that room with her, it would never go past that room, right? But if you're dealing with something even more severe, like I said, if it's on the verge of any of those other like fatigue and irritability, then you need to speak to a counselor. Okay, and I just want to finish off with these last 2 thoughts. Like number 1, self-care is not selfish, especially like saying no, setting boundaries, right? Taking care of yourself. You have to take care of number one first. You have to take care of yourself before you can show up for anybody else, especially your students. You just have to. And if something didn't get done, then it didn't get done. Whatever, it'll get done next time. If you need help, I'm also a mindset coach for teachers. I work with teachers to help them live their best life as a teacher, just the way I coached myself for the last 10 years of teaching, which made all the difference in my teaching career. So if you do need any help, like reach out. So the last one is trauma is not a life sentence. So just highlighting in your mind that some of your students you are building the resilience in them, and the power of a supportive teacher can change their life. You are definitely changing lives. Yes, you may not change everybody's life because that's not in your control, but just remember that you are one of the best influences that child has. And I just want to finish off with reminding you that you matter. Your impact is so powerful, even if it's small in small ways. And I want you to keep protecting your rainbow energy and pushing that gray energy out. Use the shield to help you so you can keep showing up for your students. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you might notice that I'm in a completely different outfit. And that is because literally after I recorded the video for this podcast slash YouTube, I got on my TikTok, gotta love everyone's listening. But anyways, I got on my TikTok a video, a very powerful video of a teacher. And her caption said, like, why I get to school at 10 past 6 in the morning. And it was this Christian song that was playing. And she went around to the tables at her class and she prayed at each of the tables, like for her students. Even thinking about it, I'm getting emotional. So that is just something, like, if you do have that sort of relationship with God, then I definitely want to add in here that one thing that you do have control over is just praying for your kids, right? Just praying that they will be okay and that sort of thing. And I would be so interested and grateful if you could comment and definitely share. But what transition ritual do you think you could start today? Like, are you going to try a transition ritual between here and home, like school and home? Is there a grounding technique that you like? What technique that I gave you really resonated and is something you think you could try? And also, is there something I missed that you're doing that you have found works and that you want to share with all of the other teachers out there that might be struggling? So I am sending all of the teachers out there just so much love and support. You have got this. I am with you. Do the best. Your best is always, always, always good enough. Always. I don't care what anybody says. Okay. I'm sending you so much light, love, laughter for the week, for the month, for the year, for the term. Mwah. Bye.